She asked, "Can you drive me home, please?" I replied. "Then where do I sleep?" Hover cars zipped past, leaving streaks of light, and drones floated lazily above, scanning the city for anything unusual. On the ground, people moved quickly, each absorbed in their own world of digital devices and augmented reality projections. It was a world where technology dominated almost everything, yet even in this sea of machines, there was something distinctly human about the way people lived. The quick gestures, the laughter, the small acts of kindness or impatience that no AI could mimic perfectly. Kai leaned against his old starship, parked in a small, forgotten lot between two massive corporate buildings. The ship wasn't the fastest or the most advanced, but it had character. Its hull was scratched and dented from years of travel, its engine hummed with a deep, steady rhythm, and its interior smelled faintly of coffee and engine oil. It was home to him, more than any apartment ever had been. He ran a hand along the smooth metal surface, feeling the warmth of the engine, thinking about the long trip he had taken to get here. He liked this city for its chaos, for the way humans still found ways to surprise each other in a world increasingly run by AI. He liked it for the small moments that reminded him that, despite the machines, humans were special. And that was when he saw her. She appeared at the edge of the lot, just standing there. At first, he thought she was another delivery courier or a passenger lost in the maze of streets. But there was something different about her. She wasn't in a uniform. Her clothes were simple, a soft jacket and pants, yet she carried herself with a confidence that suggested she belonged somewhere important, even if she didn't look it. Her eyes scanned the lot as if searching for something or someone. Kai straightened up and approached her, curious. "Lost?" he asked. His voice was casual, but there was a spark of interest. She turned to him, her eyes meeting his. There was a moment of silence, as if she was weighing something in her mind. Then she spoke, her voice calm but with a hint of urgency. "Can you drive me home, please?" Kai raised an eyebrow. "Home," he repeated. "Where exactly is home?" Her lips curved into a faint smile, almost teasing. "It's complicated," she said. "I don't think you know the place." Kai chuckled, leaning back against his ship. "Then, where do I sleep?" he asked, trying to sound casual but feeling the weight of curiosity in his words. She looked at him for a long moment and then she smiled again. This time it was warmer, more genuine. "You'll find out soon enough," she said. Kai frowned slightly. There was something about her tone that made him uneasy, yet he felt drawn to her. Humans were unpredictable, he thought, but she wasn't just human. There was something more, something in the way she moved and spoke that didn't fit with any profile he had ever seen. Still, he found himself nodding. "All right," he said finally, "but I'm warning you, I don't do routes the normal way. I improvise." She tilted her head, studying him as if she already knew the answer. "That's exactly why I need you," she said. Kai blinked. That was unexpected. "Excuse me." She stepped closer, her eyes never leaving his. In a world full of AI pilots and automated routes, humans can think in ways machines cannot. You can adapt, you can improvise. That's why I need you. Kai felt a strange thrill. He had flown countless ships, navigated through asteroid belts, and dodged more dangers than he could count, all using a combination of instinct, skill, and intuition. That was something AI could never match. Humans had a spark, a creativity born of necessity and curiosity. And now apparently someone else had noticed it too. "All right," he said, finally giving in. "Let's see where this goes." She handed him a small device, no bigger than a wristwatch, with a holographic map that flickered softly in the air. "This will guide us," she said. "But don't follow it blindly. I want you to make the choices." Kai examined the map. The coordinates were strange, almost like they led somewhere off the usual human colonies. "This isn't a normal route," he said. "No," she admitted. "It is." He smiled, feeling the familiar rush of excitement that always came with a challenging flight. "Good," he said. "I like a challenge." They boarded his ship and Kai took the controls. The engine roared to life, sending vibrations through the cabin. The city stretched below them, a maze of lights and shadows as they rose into the sky. The air outside was crisp, the wind creating soft hums against the metal hull. As they left the city behind, Kai studied her. "So, tell me more about you," he said. "Why are you here, really?" She hesitated, then said, "I'm not entirely from here. My home isn't on this planet, not really. I've been moving between worlds trying to find someone who can do what humans do best." Kai frowned. "And that's me," she nodded. "Yes, you and others like you. Humans have a way of thinking that's unpredictable, emotional, and creative. We need that." He felt a strange pride swell in his chest. Humans often underestimated themselves, but moments like this reminded him that they were more than just fragile beings in fragile bodies. They could solve problems, think beyond logic, and act in ways no machine could predict. They flew in silence for a while, the ship cutting through clouds and stars. Kai felt the familiar rush of freedom that only flight could bring, but now it was mixed with curiosity about this mysterious passenger. Who was she? Why was she here? And what made her so certain that he was the right person for this journey? The night passed slowly. Neon lights faded into the black velvet of space, dotted with distant stars. Kai's instincts remained sharp, every sense alert. Lyra, he learned her name as she whispered it during a moment of quiet, remained calm, watching him with those steady, knowing eyes. They passed a cluster of abandoned space stations, relics of old wars and old human mistakes. Kai maneuvered carefully around them, improvising paths that no AI would have chosen. She watched silently, her expression unreadable, but he could feel her approval in the way she relaxed slightly whenever he succeeded in avoiding danger. Finally, after hours of flight, they reached the edge of a remote sector. Kai looked at the coordinates again. The place was off the maps he was used to. Even the digital navigation system seemed to hesitate. "Are you sure this is safe?" he asked. She smiled. "Safe is relative, but you'll see soon enough." Kai nodded, trusting his instincts. He had always believed in taking risks when the rewards were worth it. And somehow, he knew this journey would be worth more than any reward he had ever sought before. The ship descended slowly, passing through thin clouds that glowed faintly with bioluminescent particles. Kai adjusted the controls, guiding them toward a small, hidden landing zone. It was quiet, peaceful, and strangely beautiful. A small settlement lay below, almost hidden from view, with tiny lights twinkling like stars mirrored on the ground. "This is it," Lyra said softly. Kai looked around. This is home. For now," she replied. "You'll see the real place soon, but this is where the journey begins." Kai exhaled, feeling the weight of the moment. He didn't know what awaited him here, or what role he was about to play, but one thing was certain: humans were special. And he, in this moment, felt the spark of that truth more vividly than ever before. Lyra looked at him, her eyes reflecting the soft lights of the settlement below. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I knew a human like you could make it here." Kai smiled, feeling a strange warmth in his chest. "I guess humans really do have their uses," he said. She laughed softly, a sound that made him feel like he was the only one in the universe who mattered. "More than you know," she replied. And as the ship touched down, Kai realized that this was only the beginning. The city, the stars, and the unknown challenges ahead were all part of something bigger, something that only a human could truly understand. He didn't know where he would sleep that night, or what the coming days would bring. But for the first time in a long while, he felt alive in a way that only humans could be. And that, he thought, was enough for now. Kai's hands moved over the controls with confidence, each adjustment smooth and precise. The small ship hummed beneath him, a faithful companion that responded to his instincts more than any machine ever could. Outside, the sky stretched into endless darkness dotted with distant stars. It was beautiful and quiet here, a sharp contrast to the busy neon streets they had left behind. Lyra sat quietly, watching him work. Her eyes reflected the faint glow of the instruments, and Kai noticed the subtle way her expression shifted as he maneuvered the ship. She was studying him, he realized. Not just the pilot, but the human behind the controls, the one who made choices that no algorithm could predict. "I can see why you were chosen," she said finally, breaking the silence. Kai glanced at her, raising an eyebrow. "Chosen? By whom?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she leaned back, fingers lightly brushing a small device strapped to her wrist. "There are places humans don't usually go," she said, "and things humans don't usually do. But sometimes the universe needs a mind that can think differently." "That's why you're here," Kai laughed softly. "So basically, I'm just an unpredictable tool for your mysterious plans." Lyra tilted her head, smiling faintly. "Not just any tool. Humans have imagination, intuition, and flexibility. We need that." Kai shook his head, both amused and intrigued. "Sounds like flattery mixed with a bit of danger." "That's accurate," she replied. "I wouldn't lie about it. The universe has a way of testing those who are needed most." Kai returned his attention to the controls. "All right, then. Let's see what this test looks like." The ship moved smoothly, gliding through the thin clouds that marked the edge of Earth's atmosphere. Kai felt the familiar thrill of freedom that only flight could bring, the quiet hum of the engine, the subtle shift of gravity, the stars stretching infinitely around him. It was moments like this that reminded him why humans were special. The rush, the instinctive adjustments, the small choices that made the difference between safety and disaster. No AI could ever replicate that completely. "Do you ever get tired of flying?" Lyra asked softly, her voice carrying a hint of curiosity. Kai smiled. "Tired? No. But I do get tired of predictable routes. Machines fly in straight lines, follow logic perfectly. Humans think outside the lines. That's the thrill." Lyra nodded. "Exactly, and that's why I need you. The path ahead isn't logical. No AI could handle it." Kai glanced at her. "And you know this, how?" She looked out the viewport, watching the stars drift past. "Experience," she said simply. "I've seen what happens when predictable logic meets unpredictable chaos. Humans survive where machines fail." Kai felt a shiver of anticipation. He had faced danger before, but this was different. This wasn't just about skill. It was about improvisation, intuition, and the human spark that made them stand apart. "Okay," he said, gripping the controls tighter. "Show me what this unpredictable path looks like." Lyra handed him a small holographic map. It wasn't detailed in the usual sense. Instead of showing clear routes and waypoints, it displayed shifting shapes and symbols, almost like a puzzle. Kai frowned. "This isn't exactly a map." "It isn't meant to be," she said calmly. "It's guidance, not instructions. You'll need to make decisions, trust your instincts." Kai's lips curled into a grin. This was more like it. Challenges like this excited him. He thrived on them. Every choice mattered, every maneuver counted, and every instinct could save or endanger them. The ship passed through a cluster of abandoned satellites, their metal skeletons glinting in the starlight. Kai's hands moved quickly, weaving the ship through the floating debris with careful precision. Lyra watched in silence, occasionally whispering advice or noting potential hazards. "You're better than I expected," she said after a particularly tricky maneuver. Kai shrugged, smiling. "Years of practice and a little luck. Humans tend to be resourceful." Lyra's eyes glimmered. "Resourcefulness, yes, that's one of your strongest traits." They moved on, leaving the satellites behind. The ship entered a region of faint nebula clouds, the colors shifting softly around them. The air here, thin and artificial, was filled with tiny particles that glowed faintly. Kai adjusted the shields to compensate, careful not to let the energy from the nebula interfere with the ship's systems. "Why here?" he asked. "Why not a simple route?" Lyra's gaze was distant. "Because this route tests more than just skill. It tests perception, judgment, creativity. AI cannot perceive in the same way humans do. It cannot improvise with limited resources." Humans can. That's why this path is necessary. Kai nodded slowly, understanding her reasoning. It wasn't just a journey. It was a demonstration of human capability. As they moved deeper into the nebula, strange anomalies appeared on the sensors, fluctuating energy patterns, unusual gravitational pulls, and strange electromagnetic pulses. The ship rattled slightly as Kai adjusted controls to compensate. Lyra's eyes followed the instruments carefully, offering subtle suggestions that guided him. "You're doing well," she said. "Now, notice the pattern in the fluctuations. Use it to predict the next disturbance." Kai focused, analyzing the irregular patterns. His mind worked quickly, connecting dots, anticipating movements, and adjusting the ship's path. The ship tilted, twisted, and dipped, responding to every decision. Moments like this were when humans shined brightest. AI would have failed, too rigid to adapt to unpredictable changes. After several tense minutes, the ship emerged from the worst of the anomalies. Kai exhaled slowly, feeling the familiar rush of adrenaline mixed with triumph. Lyra smiled at him, her eyes reflecting pride and appreciation. "You see," she said softly, "humans survive where machines fail, that's why you're here." Kai chuckled, feeling the weight of her words. "I guess we do have our uses." Lyra laughed lightly. "More than you know." The nebula began to fade behind them, and Kai adjusted the ship to a smoother trajectory. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and he felt a sense of wonder he hadn't felt in years. Humans had the ability to find beauty even in the harshest of conditions. That, Lyra reminded him silently, was part of their strength. Hours passed as they traveled through the quiet reaches of space. They passed abandoned colonies, silent stations, and long-forgotten mining outposts. Kai navigated them carefully, improvising paths that no map had ever suggested. Lyra watched, occasionally pointing out subtle details that he might have missed. "You have an eye for this," she said. "You notice things that others wouldn't. That's human perception." It's instinct, experience, and intuition combined. Kai smiled, feeling a quiet pride. "I guess humans aren't as fragile as some think. We notice, adapt, and survive. Always have." Lyra nodded, her gaze thoughtful. "And that's why you're essential. The path ahead is unpredictable, dangerous, and complex. But humans can find a way." The ship descended gradually toward a distant moon, a tiny dot against the vastness of space. The surface was rough, covered with jagged rocks and deep craters. No AI would have attempted this landing. It was risky, uncertain, and required a pilot who could anticipate every sudden shift in gravity and terrain. Kai adjusted the controls carefully, feeling the subtle pull of gravity. His instincts guided him, his hands moving almost automatically. Lyra's calm presence beside him was reassuring, a silent reminder that he wasn't alone in this challenge. Finally, the ship touched down with a gentle shudder. Dust rose around the landing site, glittering faintly in the dim light of distant stars. Kai exhaled, feeling the rush of satisfaction and relief. Lyra turned to him, her expression serious but filled with warmth. "Welcome," she said softly. "This is where the next part of the journey begins." Kai looked around, taking in the strange landscape. It was beautiful in a harsh, alien way. He didn't know what awaited him here, but one thing was clear. Humans were capable of more than machines, more than anyone had imagined. Lyra placed a hand lightly on his arm. "Rest now," she said. "Tomorrow, you'll see why your abilities are so important. The universe has challenges that only humans can face, and you are part of that story." Kai nodded, feeling a sense of purpose he hadn't experienced in years. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, he understood that being human wasn't a weakness. It was a gift. And as he prepared to sleep for the first time since leaving Earth, he realized that this journey, mysterious and dangerous as it might be, was exactly where he needed to be. The next morning, Kai woke to a strange silence. The usual hum of engines or distant city noise was absent. Instead, The faint glimmer of alien sunlight filtered through the thin atmosphere of the moon. Dust particles sparkled in the dim light, creating patterns that seemed almost alive. Kai rubbed his eyes, slowly remembering where he was. Lyra was already awake, standing near the viewport, her gaze fixed on the horizon. The landscape outside was rugged, craters and jagged rock formations stretching as far as the eye could see. Tiny lights flickered in the distance, like stars planted on the ground, hinting at some hidden settlement. Kai stretched, his muscles stiff from the cramped quarters of the ship. "Morning," he said, trying to sound casual. "Where exactly are we?" Lyra turned to him, her eyes bright. "Welcome to the edge of what most humans ever see," she said softly. "This is my home for now. But it's not just mine, it's a place for those who need to be here." Kai frowned. "Those who need to be here," Lyra nodded, stepping closer. "Refugees, humans and other species who have nowhere else to go. This base is hidden, off-grid and safe from those who would control or harm us. It's small, but it's a place where we can plan, learn, and survive." Kai looked out the window again, seeing a cluster of small structures nestled in the crater below. They were simple and practical, but something about them radiated warmth, as if life itself had chosen to take root there despite the harsh environment. "So, this is why the route was strange," Kai said, piecing it together. "You wanted me to find it without guidance." Lyra smiled. "Exactly. AI could have flown perfectly through the nebula, followed maps, and landed somewhere else entirely. Humans can feel, adapt, and sense. That's why I asked for you." Kai felt a strange pride. Humans often underestimated themselves. They were clever, adaptable, and creative, but so many thought they were fragile, insignificant. Lyra's words reminded him of something he had always known deep down. Humans were special. He finally stepped out of the ship, stretching his legs. The ground beneath him was uneven and coarse, but the small settlement glowed invitingly in the distance. He felt a sudden excitement, the same rush he got before every challenging flight or dangerous maneuver. Humans thrived in uncertainty, and this place was full of it. Lyra led him down a narrow path toward the base. "We don't often get visitors," she explained. "Especially not humans like you. Most pilots are predictable or rely on AI. But humans have the ability to change everything." Kai glanced at her. "Change everything, that sounds dramatic." She laughed softly. "Perhaps, but you'll see soon enough. We have problems here that machines cannot solve, conflicts that require intuition, and danger that requires quick thinking. That's why humans are invaluable." They reached the base entrance, a simple doorway carved into the rock, reinforced with metallic panels. A few figures moved about, tending to equipment, organizing supplies, or repairing small machines. Kai noticed immediately how efficient their movements were, yet there was a sense of warmth and cooperation that no AI system could replicate. One of the humans approached, a tall man with a kind face and sharp eyes. "Lyra," he said respectfully. "You brought a pilot?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, this is Kai. He's unlike any pilot we've seen." The man raised an eyebrow, then smiled. "Good, we could use a mind like his." Kai felt a mix of curiosity and caution. "A mind like mine?" he asked. "Yes," the man said. "Humans think differently. They adapt when plans fail, improvise when there's no solution, and find paths no machine could predict. That's why you're here. We need that skill for what's coming." Kai glanced around the base, absorbing the surroundings. Simple as it was alive with purpose. Humans were everywhere, working, laughing, and helping each other. There were alien species too, but they seemed to defer to humans in subtle ways, respecting their intuition and judgment. It was unusual, yet it made sense. Humans were unpredictable in the best way. Lyra guided him through the base, showing him the various areas. Living quarters, workspaces, a small garden where algae and hardy plants were cultivated, and even a makeshift hangar for small ships like his. Everywhere he looked, he saw humans doing things no AI could manage, repairing equipment with improvisation, negotiating with alien traders, and solving problems with creativity and empathy. "This place, it's amazing," Kai said quietly. Lyra nodded. "It survives because of humans. And now you're part of it." Kai swallowed hard. He had always known he was good at his job, but he had never considered himself extraordinary. Yet here in this hidden base, he realized the truth. Humans were essential. Their adaptability, intuition, and creativity were not just useful, they were vital. Lyra led him to a central hall where a holographic map hovered in midair, displaying a complex network of systems, planets, and routes. "This," she said, "is what we're protecting. Knowledge, alliances, and lives, and soon we'll need to act." Kai studied the map. There were markers, warnings, and highlighted routes. Some led to colonies humans had abandoned, others to regions controlled by alien factions. The complexity was staggering. No AI could manage this, but humans could see patterns, anticipate danger, and make decisions where machines would fail. "Why me?" Kai asked finally. "Why now?" Lyra's gaze was steady. "Because humans like you are rare. The galaxy is changing and threats are rising. Machines can calculate, but they cannot feel. They cannot improvise. They cannot inspire. Humans can do all of that and more. That's why you're here." Kai nodded slowly, beginning to understand. He wasn't just a pilot. He was part of a larger plan, one that relied on human ingenuity and courage. It was a heavy responsibility, but for the first time in a long while, he felt truly alive. The day passed quickly as Lyra introduced him to the other inhabitants of the base. Some were pilots like him, others were engineers, strategists, and diplomats. Everyone had a role, and everyone relied on human creativity to solve problems. Kai noticed the quiet respect in their interactions. Humans weren't just participants here. They were leaders by nature, guiding others through uncertainty. By evening, Kai was exhausted but exhilarated. He stood at the edge of the base, looking out at the craters and distant stars. The sky was deep blue-black, dotted with pinpoints of light. Somewhere out there, beyond the visible stars, dangers lurked, but Kai felt ready. Humans had a way of surviving, of finding solutions where none seemed possible. That was their strength, and now it was his strength too. Lyra approached him silently. "Tomorrow you'll see the true challenge," she said. "This base is more than a refuge. It's a starting point. The galaxy is vast, full of danger and opportunity, and humans have a role to play." Kai nodded. "I understand," he said, "and I'm ready. Whatever comes, I'll handle it." She smiled, a mix of warmth and seriousness. "I know you will, that's why you're here." That night Kai lay down in the small quarters assigned to him. The bed was simple but comfortable, a rare luxury compared to the cramped spaces of his ship. As he drifted to sleep, he thought about what Lyra had said about humans being special. It wasn't about strength or speed. It was about adaptability, intuition, and creativity. It was about being able to face the unknown and find a way through it. And as he closed his eyes, Kai realized something else. For the first time in a long while, he felt part of something bigger than himself. Something important. Something that only humans could do. The journey had only just begun, but Kai was ready. Tomorrow, the base, the galaxy, and the unknown challenges ahead would test him in ways he had never imagined. And he would rise to meet them, not because of machines, not because of luck, but because he was human. And being human, Kai thought with a small, determined smile, was more powerful than anything else in the universe. The base had settled into a quiet rhythm after Kai's arrival. Humans and other residents moved efficiently, repairing machinery, managing resources, and maintaining the small settlement that perched precariously in the crater. The unusual calm gave Kai a chance to rest, but his instincts remained alert. Something about the air felt tense, like the quiet before a storm. Lyra moved beside him as he checked the communications console. "You sense it too?" she asked softly. Kai nodded. Yes, something is coming, I can feel it. Lyra's expression hardened. Then you're right. We've been monitoring unusual activity near the outer colonies. It's approaching. Kai frowned. Who? She shook her head. I don't know yet, but whatever it is, it won't respond well to AI defenses. That's why humans are essential. Kai's heart quickened. He had faced dangers before, but this felt different. This was not a test of skill alone. It was a test of creativity, improvisation, and human intuition. The warning sirens suddenly blared, echoing through the base. Lights flashed red. Residents immediately moved into action, following drills practiced countless times. Kai felt the familiar rush of adrenaline he always did in emergencies, but now it was stronger. The threat was real. Lyra grabbed his arm. We need you, Kai. AI can't handle this. They will predict patterns and fail. You must improvise. Kai nodded, gripping his hands over the control panel. Show me. Outside the base, a swarm of alien drones emerged from the shadows of the crater. They were sleek, black, and relentless, their surfaces glinting in the faint sunlight. Their movements were calculated, predictable, but that predictability was exactly what Kai could exploit. He ran through options in his mind, thinking quickly. The base's automated turrets would fire, but the drone's shielding was strong and adaptive. A frontal attack would fail. He needed something unpredictable. Lyra, he called, give me a full layout of the surrounding terrain. She brought up a holographic display showing craters, ridges, and hidden paths. There, she pointed. You can use the terrain to your advantage. Kai studied the map, analyzing every possible route, every angle the drones might take. Then an idea formed. He would lead them through the narrow ridges, forcing the drones to split up and exposing their weak points. It was risky, but it relied on creativity rather than brute force, something no AI could replicate. Prepare the secondary defenses, he ordered. We're going to make them fight our rules, not theirs. Residents scrambled to follow his commands. Humans, with their quick thinking and improvisation, began setting up traps, barriers, and decoys in ways machines would never consider. It was chaos, but a controlled chaos, orchestrated by Kai's guidance. The first wave of drones advanced, their sensors scanning the base. Kai maneuvered a small interceptor ship, weaving through the craters and ridges, drawing the drones into the traps. The drones fired, but their attacks were deflected by shields and barriers. Each movement Kai made was unpredictable, forcing the aliens to overextend and exposing weaknesses. Lyra watched in awe. You're incredible, she whispered. The way you think, it's not something machines can imitate. Kai didn't answer. He was focused, every instinct tuned to survival and strategy. The human mind thrived in situations like this, finding solutions where others would falter. He relied on intuition, creativity, and the ability to improvise in real time. A drone broke through one of the defenses, advancing toward the main base. Kai reacted instantly, diving his interceptor to intercept it. He used the terrain cleverly, forcing the drone to crash into a ridge. Another group of drones followed, and Kai guided the humans to trigger a series of traps, sending them into disarray. The base's inhabitants worked in perfect sync, trusting Kai's decisions. Humans moved faster than any machine could, improvising repairs, setting ambushes, and predicting alien behavior. Each action was unpredictable, yet coordinated. The drones began to falter, their strict logic unable to handle the human chaos. Kai realized that this was exactly why he had been chosen. It wasn't strength or firepower, it was ingenuity. Humans could create opportunities out of nothing, exploit weaknesses machines could never see, and act in ways that were impossible to predict. Hours passed in a tense blur. The swarm was relentless, but Kai's strategy and the humans' adaptability turned the tide. The final wave of drones approached the base, but Kai had one last trick. He guided a series of decoy ships, using holographic projections to confuse the enemies. The drones split, collided, and malfunctioned in ways only a human could orchestrate. When the last drone fell, the base was quiet again. Smoke rose from minor fires, but no lives were lost. Humans cheered quietly, relief mingled with pride. Kai leaned against his ship, exhausted but exhilarated. Lyra came to his side, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You did it," she said softly. "You saved us." Kai shook his head. "No, we did it. Humans together improvised, adapted, survived. That's what made the difference." Lyra smiled. "Exactly, and that's why the galaxy needs humans. We can face challenges no machine can handle. We can survive where others fail." Kai looked around at the base, the humans who had trusted his instincts, the alien allies who respected his decisions, and felt a profound sense of purpose. He was more than a pilot. He was part of something bigger, something essential. As night fell, the crater glowed under the stars. Kai walked along the edge of the base, watching the small lights flicker like stars on the ground. The humans moved calmly, repairing, organizing, preparing for whatever might come next. Lyra joined him, her gaze thoughtful. "Tomorrow we'll begin training others," she said. "The galaxy will throw challenges at us that AI cannot anticipate. Humans like you will lead the way." Kai nodded. "I'm ready," he said. "Humans are meant to survive, and we'll prove it." Lyra smiled, a mixture of warmth and admiration. "You've already proven it, but the journey is just beginning." Kai stood quietly, looking at the stars and the small base that had become his new home. He thought about the journey ahead, the challenges, and the unknown dangers that awaited. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy, nor the fastest, nor the most advanced. But they had something machines and many others lacked: creativity, adaptability, and the courage to face the unknown. And in that moment, Kai understood fully what Lyra had meant from the beginning. Humans were special, not because of their strength, but because of their spirit. That spirit had saved the base today, and it would carry them through the trials yet to come. He felt a deep sense of pride and determination. The galaxy was vast, full of threats, mysteries, and opportunities. And humans, unpredictable, inventive, courageous humans, would navigate it, shaping the future in ways no machine ever could. Kai looked at Lyra, the stars, and the quiet base beneath them. "We're ready," he said. "Whatever comes, we'll face it. Humans always do." Lyra nodded. "Yes," she said, "and that is why we endure." As the night deepened, the base rested in cautious peace. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but Kai knew they were prepared. Humans together had survived the first test. And with ingenuity, intuition, and courage, they would survive whatever came next. Kai finally returned to his quarters, lying down on the simple bed. The events of the day played over in his mind: the drones, the traps, the improvisation that had saved lives. Humans had a spark, a brilliance that could not be calculated, predicted, or replaced. And in that spark, Kai found purpose, pride, and hope. The galaxy might be vast and dangerous, but humans were special. And that was more than enough to face the unknown. The base awoke to a calm morning, the crater bathed in soft, pale light from the distant sun. The tension from the previous day had faded, replaced by quiet determination. Humans moved with purpose, repairing the minor damage left by the drone attack, checking equipment, and preparing for the tasks ahead. Kai stood outside his small quarters, stretching as he looked around. The base was alive with activity, humans and alien allies working side by side, a perfect mix of cooperation and ingenuity. Every task reflected the strength and resilience of humans. Even in a place far from home, surrounded by danger, they found ways to adapt, survive, and thrive. Lyra approached him, her expression calm but serious. "Kai," she said, "today we begin the next phase. The attack was a warning. There are more challenges ahead. And now more than ever, humans must lead the way." Kai nodded, feeling a sense of focus and purpose. "I understand," he said. "We'll face it together." Lyra guided him to the central hall, where a large holographic display hovered in midair. The map showed the nearby star systems, colonies, and trade routes. Red markers blinked faintly, signaling potential threats and unstable regions. Kai studied the display, tracing paths and patterns with his eyes. These systems are on the edge of control, Lyra explained. Aliens, rogue AI, and pirates are moving quickly. The colonies rely on human pilots, human strategists, and human intuition to survive. Machines alone cannot manage this complexity. Kai's mind raced. He saw possibilities, strategies, and risks that no AI would calculate. He could feel the weight of responsibility, but instead of fear, he felt excitement. Humans thrived in challenges. Improvisation, creativity, and intuition, these were their strengths. We'll need to organize the pilots, Kai said. Divide the colonies into sectors, assign reconnaissance, and coordinate defensive maneuvers. But we also need contingencies. The unexpected will happen and we have to be ready for it. Lyra smiled. Exactly. That is why humans are indispensable. Kai moved quickly, coordinating with the other pilots and strategists. He assigned tasks, shared observations, and suggested unconventional maneuvers. Some pilots hesitated at first, unused to thinking outside strict protocols, but Kai encouraged them, reminding them of the lessons learned during the drone attack. Trust your instincts, he said. Machines predict patterns. Humans break them. Adapt, improvise, survive. That's what we do. By midday, the base hummed with energy. Pilots tested ships, engineers repaired equipment, and strategists mapped routes. Kai walked among them, offering guidance and encouragement. He watched as humans applied their creativity to every problem, improvising solutions, finding hidden strengths, and working in ways no AI could replicate. Lyra followed him silently, observing. "You've already changed things," she said quietly. "Humans see the world differently." "That perspective is invaluable," Kai nodded. "It's not just me," he said. "Humans together, adaptable, smart, resilient, we're more than any one person." As afternoon turned to evening, sensors detected movement near the outer perimeter. Kai immediately analyzed the data. Small fleets of ships, fast and lightly armored, were approaching from multiple directions. This wasn't a full-scale attack like yesterday, but it was testing their defenses, probing for weaknesses. "Lyra, they're testing us," he said. "We need to respond carefully." "Not with brute force, but with strategy," Lyra nodded. "Then you'll lead." Kai took the controls of a small interceptor ship, flying out to meet the incoming fleets. He analyzed the enemy patterns, looking for gaps and predictable behavior. The first wave advanced quickly, but Kai's human instincts allowed him to anticipate their maneuvers. He dodged, feinted, and guided the attackers toward traps set by the base's defenders. The enemy underestimated the unpredictability of humans. Every move Kai made was unexpected, exploiting weaknesses no machine would have calculated. Small decoys drew away some attackers, while others were forced to navigate treacherous terrain in the crater. Back at the base, humans and allied species moved in coordination. They activated energy barriers, launched countermeasures, and repaired defenses in real time. The efficiency was remarkable, but it was human creativity and flexibility that made it successful. Machines could not improvise like this. They could only follow programmed logic. Kai guided his ship through the chaos, signaling others with hand gestures and voice commands. Pilots responded instantly, adapting to his instructions. The enemy fleet faltered under the pressure of unpredictable tactics. Ships collided, maneuvers failed, and disarray spread through their ranks. Lyra watched from the control center, her expression calm but proud. "Humans do this best," she said softly. "They think, adapt, survive. They turn chaos into opportunity." Kai's focus never wavered. Every instinct, every choice, every improvisation mattered. The humans were not just defending the base, they were shaping the outcome. And slowly, the tide began to turn. By nightfall, the enemy fleets were retreating. Small explosions dotted the perimeter, but the base remained intact. Humans cheered quietly, exhausted but victorious. Kai landed his ship back at the hangar, adrenaline still pumping through him. Lyra met him there, smiling. "You've done more than survive," she said. "You've proven the value of humans again. Not strength, not technology, but ingenuity, intuition, and courage." Kai nodded, looking around at the base. Humans moved among the aliens, laughing, helping, and repairing. Every task reflected the same truth: humans were special. Their ability to adapt, create, and inspire made them irreplaceable. "You've changed their perspective," Lyra said. "They've always underestimated themselves, but now they see what humans can do. You've shown them the spark that makes all the difference." Kai felt a quiet pride. It wasn't about glory or recognition. It was about survival, adaptability, and proving that humans could rise to any challenge. That night, Kai walked to the edge of the crater. The stars shone brightly, scattered like diamonds across the sky. The base glowed softly below him, a tiny haven in a vast and dangerous galaxy. Lyra joined him, standing quietly at his side. "You did more than defend the base," she said. "You inspired. Humans don't just survive, they lead, guide, and change the course of events." "That's their gift," Kai smiled. "And that's what we'll keep doing. Humans always adapt, humans always survive, and humans always find a way to shine, no matter the darkness around them." Lyra looked at him, a mixture of admiration and gratitude in her eyes. "Then the galaxy is in good hands," she said softly. Kai stood silently, feeling the weight of her words. For the first time, he understood the full meaning of what Lyra had said when she asked him to drive her home. It wasn't about a place, it was about purpose, about what humans could do when they used their minds, instincts, and hearts together. The base, the crater, the stars, all of it symbolized possibility. Humans were fragile, yes, but fragile in a way that made them resourceful, inventive, and resilient. Machines could calculate, predict, and optimize, but only humans could inspire, adapt, and turn chaos into triumph. Kai finally returned to his quarters, exhausted but fulfilled. As he lay on the simple bed, he thought about everything that had happened: the journey through the nebula, the hidden base, the drone attack, and the defense of the crater. Every moment had tested humans in a way machines never could. And every moment had proven the same truth: humans were extraordinary. Outside, the stars sparkled, distant and beautiful. The galaxy was vast, full of danger, mystery, and opportunity. And humans, unpredictable, courageous, and brilliant humans, would navigate it, shaping the future in ways no one else could. Kai closed his eyes, feeling a deep sense of peace. For the first time in a long while, he knew exactly where he belonged. Not just in space, not just in the galaxy, but in the story of humanity, rising to meet challenges, inspiring others, and proving that no obstacle was too great for those who dared to think, adapt, and act. And somewhere far beyond the stars, the universe watched as humans, messy, unpredictable, and brilliantly alive, carved their path, showing that no matter the odds, their spark would always shine. Kai smiled, drifting into sleep. The journey had begun and the future awaited. But he knew one thing for certain: humans would rise, humans would endure, humans would always find a way.